Okay, so here's an interesting stat for you. If you shoot in the 90s to the hundreds, you have 14 shots around that are inside 60 yards. 11 of those are in the rough, just like this shot. And out of those 14 shots that you have, 6 times you will miss the green. So just completely miss, like flub a chip, skull a chip, whatever. So if you were to do this and you were to listen to this video, and even if you're in the 80s, right? The 80s, there's still, if you shoot in the 80s, you still are missing greens at least once or twice, right? You can cut shots off. Like if you shoot in the 90s, this can cut 6 shots off your handicap if you just listen to the next, couple minutes, 3, 4, 5 minutes, right? So here's the gig. The reason why that is because you're making poor contact with chips. So a little bit of a backstory with this. When I was playing professional golf, I hit it, to be really honest, I hit it really, really good. And I putt it really, really good. But my short game really plagued me. But luckily, I was hitting like 15, 16 greens around, so it didn't hurt me that much. However, it was costing me shots, right? Because par 5s I couldn't get up and down. When I did miss a green, I was making a bogey, and that could be really penal. So I'm sitting in a Bible study, quite frankly, with this guy, with Tom Lehman. If you guys know Tom Lehman, won the British Open, Ryder Cup captain. And I'm sitting with Tom, and he says to me, I go, Tom, my short game is really struggling. I don't know what to do. He goes, Kyle, here's what you need to do. Here's the secret. He goes, the first thing you need to do is you need to make solid contact. Right? And I was like, yeah, that would make common sense, right? I need to be able to hit the ball solid. And that's what we're going to talk about right now. The second thing he said is then you got to be able to control trajectory. Then you got to be able to control tempo. Then you got to be able to read different lies. But right now, we're going to talk about making solid contact with chips, because if you can't make solid contact with chips, then what else? Nothing else really matters after that, meaning the other questions. So, first and foremost, how do you make solid contact? So there's 2 main reasons as to why amateur golfers and professional golfers don't make solid contact. And the first one is that in their downswing, their head will move backwards. So they're kind of like what you do in your full swing, right? You come down in your full swing, you kind of create some tilt with your spine, you're leaning the handle, because that's like what dynamic players, right? We don't go like this with a 7-iron. So their head is falling back, and what that does is it makes the player have a tendency to kind of hit behind it. The second thing that they do is the player gets too under the plane. So unfortunately, time and time again at the Golf Room Everywhere, which is our online community where you can send us a video of your chipping motion, we can give you a tip so that you can see, hey, am I doing the things that Kyle said or not doing those things? But that's if you go to the Golf Room Everywhere. Or right here in the golf room, what we see is that the player will chip how they should swing, and they swing how they chip. So they swing it like this, and then they chip it like this, right? And we got to reverse the circle or reverse the pattern. So like I said, their head will move back, and then secondly, if this is the plane, right? If they're setting up, they will come down to under the plane, which will make them hit behind it while they're falling back. You can see how that would not really work out very well. So when we're hitting shots to make solid contact, we want to have the club going up the plane and kind of airing just outside of our knuckles and then working back around the plane. We do not want to be under the plane. And then like I was saying, we want our head to fall this way. So if we were to look at this, and if I were to put my shadow right here on this flag, you can see that my head would be tumbling in front of that shadow. And you can do that too, right? If you had the sun, the projector's coming down and the sun was like this, you could put a stick down on the ground and then put your right ear on the stick and try to feel like you're getting to hit down on it, right? Like you're getting your head to move. And it's going to feel like you're moving your mass a lot, but that's okay. That's because you kind of fall behind it. Then, if you're coming too far under, what you would do is you would take a stick. You could take that same alignment stick. You can set it in the ground, and you would set it kind of at the plane of the shaft. So you can see how this is set, like you would stick it in the ground. Obviously, I've got this metal base here. But you would stick it in the ground so that now you can't take it inside. And then that would be a way in which you could practice so that you could really feel what's real, so that you can try to make sure that you're hitting down on it and you're getting your head, right? If you wanted to take that same stick and you wanted to put it on the right side of your head, this would give you feedback to feel like if you were falling back. right? So you could set up with this on the right side of your head if you were righty and get it to tumble. And then the third way that you could work on it would be to take an alignment stick. You know, you get in your setup and put the alignment stick on the right side of your foot so that now you had to kind of feel like you were hitting down on it a little bit. That can ensure that you're making solid contact. And once you have solid contact, then we can do series on like, hey, how do you control different trajectories, right? How do you control tempo? We talked about that before. How do you control reading lies and into the grain lies, downhill lies, you know, Bermuda lies, Zoysia lies, Paspalum lies, all these different things, right? There's a lot of variability in that stuff. But the first thing we got to get you to do is to hit it solid. So try to, like I said, try to feel like your head is moving a little forward and try to feel like you're, if anything, it feels like you're hitting a little bit of a slice, right? Like a high slice rather than like a low draw. We don't want to do that with finesse wedges around the green. That kind of happens inside 30 yards. A lot of times you guys say, hey, like, when does it go from finesse wedges to distance wedges, right? Distance wedges being like low launch, high spin, kind of drawing wedges. That's more around the 60, 70, 80, 90, 100-yard mark. This is like inside 30 yards. So this is hopefully a little tip on how you can kind of work on hitting it solid. Like I said, if you're like, hey, I don't know what I'm doing, I have no clue. Luckily for you, if you just go to thegolfroomeverywhere.com and you're inside of our membership community, or if you want to have a free trial with the purchase of the master plan, you can send us your video of chipping and we'll give you a look, right? We're going to give you like 20, 30 minutes of advice on what you need to do to master your move, right? And like I said, it's all personalized to you so that you can get cool drills like this. And you know, there's so much stuff in that master plan, it's insane. So go check that out if you want personalized advice for you. But thanks for subscribing. Be sure to subscribe, comment below on what you learned here, what you'd like to learn going forward. I'll be sure to try to shoot some content specifically for you. Thanks for tuning in.